recently, I think it's either been announced or it just came to my attention anyway that there's going to be a Top Gun 2. Apparently, they're calling it Maverick. That's just that's the whole thing. They're just calling it. It's just calling it Maverick. And I guess Tom Cruise is confirmed to be in it. Apparently, he's wanted to make it for quite a while, but it's just never panned out until recently. So the topic really is just sequels, and is it? I mean, it's kind of a topic that's been beaten to death, but obviously we live in a very much sequel culture. And do you think it's just because movies cost so much to make that no one's willing to take a risk anymore? Instead of playing on nostalgia, they're playing on known names.
Yeah, that's generally the rule with the bigger budget movies. The first movie in a series that they try to make something new is not going to perform as well as the sequels.
Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where
we're tired of
just regular original content is like all we want, and we're just so sick of I mean, it kind of like still makes a lot of sense that the biggest movie going market, especially like theater market, are people who are used to going to movies their whole life. They're probably, I think, like my parents go to movies all the time still. I only go to maybe 2 or 3 a year. One of them's probably Star Wars.
Usually I'm fairly consistent in the movie, especially in the summertime. I'll be going once a week when it gets really busy.
They're also somebody with a good disposable income. I guess that was part of the equation of that. People that are going are, maybe an older generation with the time and the money, especially the money to go to movies, because they are pretty expensive to go to.
The nostalgia factor is a big draw on these types of movies. I mean, they're redoing, what do they do? They did The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Recently. They're doing The Lion King.
Blends into another topic.
They did Jumanji.
Jurassic Park is back.
Jurassic Park.
Obviously, Star Wars is going strong.
You got all these ones that are playing on that factor.
I'm trying to think of original movies that I've seen lately, and I guess we watched Wind River, but it was a 99-cent rental.
And it's a lower budget film. You're not going to find, generally, you find less in the big budget movies.
I guess that's really what it comes down to, is how much money it's going to cost to make, whether or not it can make it back. And so why is it then that all these popular franchises are these super high budget films? Why is it that the most popular stuff requires all these special effects? And it's almost like, does that say that you either have a story in your movie or you have effects? You can't like have an original story and effects,
You can have both easy, but it's less expensive if you're starting out to just have a good story and less special effects, and then you tap the special effects and jack them up a bit in the next movies.
Yeah.
When you're trying to repeat and wow.
But you set a bit of a precedent with the first one. Like if let's say you're doing like a slow-paced, I don't know, like a Sherlock Holmes movie. Okay, that's a bad example because they make them pretty high budget. But let's just say it's like literally a solve a crime type movie, and it's just slow, it's evidence-based, a bit of suspense, no real effects, just a good story, start to front.
Generally, that's not going to have a sequel.
Start to front. Exactly. Isn't that the weird part of it? Even if it's a good story. Like, remember I'm sure this was a high-budget movie, but The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? Now, this isn't a great example because it is just taking an existing property and doing something else with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't one that, a lot of moviegoers necessarily knew about ahead of time. They didn't make the next movie in that series.
I think that'd be more the exception than the rule. I'm not sure what the budget for the Bourne movies were, but I'm pretty sure they got up there too.
Yeah, I guess that was an original concept, right? They weren't based off anything, were they?
Yeah, they're based on books.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So there's just nothing. Nothing in
Most movies are based on a book or a true story.
I guess it makes sense because they're already
facts.
good writing. Yeah.
I love those trailers. It's like based on actual events.
Yeah.
Not. There's something like this might have happened somewhere, but it has been blown so out of proportion and jazzed up.
Real life doesn't make for good TV, generally. Unless you're, very selectively editing, which they just do in those adaptations. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to go with that, but I wonder if as the technology gets better, maybe they'll start taking more risks. But I don't know where else technology can even go, other than just making like CG type stuff dirt cheap to somehow make.
Kind of have a lot of the TV and the streaming covering that. riskier aspect now.
That's a good point, is that TV I find way more compelling now than movies.
Well, there's a lot more of it now. It's a lot easier to get access to any kind of service.
But not just that you have that longer time to flesh a story out. Maybe that's what it is about movies, is their shorter attention span. And so you got to like pack in just nonstop kind of stuff. Whereas TV, you can have a whole episode where it's just kind of
You're
bullshit.
looking at a movie and your average runtime's under 2 hours if they're trying to do it. If it's over 2 hours, then it starts dragging, but that's a different story. But then you get to like Breaking Bad, you got 45-minute episodes.
Yeah.
So you can 3 episodes in, you've covered as much as a full-length movie, and you've got multiple seasons covering the story. So
yeah, and your budget on something like that. And that's kind of goes into my example of like that story. It didn't require a lot of fancy stuff. Now and then there was an explosion and some fancy makeup, but for the most part, it was just character story driven. Do we just not want to see that in movies, you think, a lot of the time? Or people don't want to go to a theater to see that? They'd rather just watch that on TV?
I think because movies have to develop characters really quickly, that's less of a thing. You only have that amount of time to develop a character.
Yeah.
You can literally watch someone change over the course of a series as it goes on.
But that makes sense. But why does that influence the budget so much? Do you think it is just because it's a shorter time, so you cram as much? You kind of almost say, well, we can't fit a lot of story in here, so let's make it a big spectacle. Is that the movie approach, you think?
Generally.
Because I guess, when I think about it, I don't go to see comedies in the theater. Because why would I want to see that on a big screen? I'd rather just sit at home and laugh at it and eat Doritos.
That's why the budget on comedies is generally lower, too.
So I guess when it comes down to it, people shouldn't be that hard on movies. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
It's generally the big budget blockbusters and then the small indie movies that
I
get
think
the word of mouth.
Streaming and internet stuff has been like the best thing, I think, for movies, really. Because now there's a place for all those indie things to just go straight to consumers where people will take risks and actually watch them.
The studios would disagree with you.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they'd like to get all their money,
so much money with
in one place.
Piracy, but I don't think it's that big of an effect. It's not. If my point of view on that is people that are going to pirate something are not going to go to a theater to see the movie anyways. They're just seeing it because they can.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly
so you're not going to get the money regardless.
And that's kind of it's almost like the business model for Netflix is things are getting watched because they can be.
Or it could improve even your word of mouth.
Yeah.
Random people streaming it saying, oh, this movie's great.
Mm-hmm. I always make a point if I'm somehow happening upon content that I didn't pay for. If I like it, I want more of it. And so I'll seek out the creator of it and either donate or buy something or even just get the content legitimately afterwards, whatever it takes. Because that just makes sense to me. If you want to see more of something, you don't tell them just by streaming it for free. You tell them by giving them money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of off topic, I guess.
Well, if you want to tie into the sequels and the ongoing nostalgia factor, we were going to talk about Jon Favreau. Yeah.
Well, we may as well jump into that because he's a big player in the current nostalgic factor of Disney anyway.